As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and we've been talking a lot about law and politics and culture just in our civil society. And of course, that is incredibly important. And that's why a lot of you tune into this show to hear about what's going on in our civil society and politics in terms of truth in society. But we also need to be concerned fundamentally about truth in our Christian communities as well, and truth in churches. Because if we don't have sound doctrine in churches, then how can we ever think we're going to carry that into law and politics in our civil society? We first have to make sure that our own house is taken care of so that we can go and be adequate and good ambassadors for Christ into civil society. So Meg Basham, who is an excellent writer for Daily Wire, has uncovered a lot of things about a very important denomination that controls a lot of seminaries and pastors and graduates that one may be even teaching at your church that she's going to share that you really, really need to pay attention to. Coming up next. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you. So joining me now is my very dear friend from Daily Wire, Megan Basham, and she wrote this incredible piece that is called Mr. Smith Goes to the Convention. And this is all about the future of the Southern Baptist Convention and how the LGBTQ infiltration of the SBC is actually teaming up with Rick Warren to try to push female pastors into the mix here. So, Megan, this is a really lengthy, very in-depth piece. You're becoming known for your very in-depth investigative journalism. So I love that this isn't just like a 500-word quick read. So let's go through this in the synopsis. What is going on with this push for female pastors and kind of the LGBTQ movement in the SBC?
So, I first got sort of interested in this story because I knew there was a constitutional amendment. We'd had a lot of internal wrangling in the Southern Baptist Convention over women pastors. Rick Warren kind of made some major headlines when he ordained 3 women a couple years ago, and then he announced his replacement as he's retiring from Saddleback. He named a husband and wife team to replace him. Well, if you are a Southern Baptist, you know that our statement of faith says that only qualified men are to be pastors. So that was, quite an explosive move. And of course, as you might expect at that point, a lot of secular media talked about it. There was a lot of, I won't say they were boosting him, but they were certainly sort of very quietly covering it in a way that seemed to me to sort of push the denomination in that direction. Yes, you should do this. You should get with the times, forget what, Timothy says, and just have women in the pastorate. So that was kind of where I started to be interested in it. I knew there was this amendment. And then out of nowhere, the Southern Baptist Convention, after dragging their feet on it for 2 years, disfellowshipped Saddleback. And it was so unlike the leadership of the SBC that I am familiar with that I went, wow, that was a really surprising, it seemed on the surface like this doctrinal statement that they made.
Finally, we're standing up and doing something biblical. Yay.
Yes, yeah. Right. Well, except for, I'm familiar enough that, the spidey senses went off and I went, I feel like there's something more going on here. And then, the second I go on and start looking at the statements of the Southern Baptist president, of some of the members of the executive committee who made this decision, you realize, oh, there is more to it. So then I started digging into it. And what it turned out to be was that rather than bringing this amendment forward, which would have given the convention the opportunity to have a very clear-cut up or down vote based on doctrine, they intentionally disfellowshipped Rick Warren and Saddleback for the purpose of allowing them a chance to appeal. So rather than having a vote on what is biblical, it's being set up to be a popularity contest based on Rick Warren at the 2023 convention. And I do want to add really quickly that this has some massive implications. If you're not a Southern Baptist, you might go, I'm not a Southern Baptist, who cares? Here's why you care. Because it is not only the largest Protestant denomination in the U.S., they also have the largest seminaries in the U.S. There are 6 SBC seminaries. They educate the majority of Protestant pastors, and that's of any denomination. So what happens doctrinally with the Southern Baptists has huge ripple effects for the rest of American Christianity. And so that's really why this is important. And at that point,
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not just kind of one of these internal in-house Christian interdenominational disputes. This does have far-reaching implications on where Christianity in America largely is going. This would be similar, I think, to saying, if there's doctrine that comes forth from the Vatican that impacts the majority of Catholic churches. And so in a sense, not that, I'm really comparing the SBC to the Vatican. Hopefully we don't have, the SBC president as like the new pope or something. But in the same way that it does impact a lot of churches within the Protestant community and Christianity as a whole. Tom Askell, who ran for SBC president, has been on the show a number of times. I'd encourage listeners to go back and listen to some of those broadcasts when I've had him on, because he's talking about the future of the SBC and why this is important.
Right. And that is exactly the point. And so you go, okay, so if they're capitulating on this question of women pastors, or they're setting it up so that they can capitulate, I would say that's more what we're talking about, is setting a backdoor precedent through Rick Warren. If they're doing that, what would that mean for other doctrinal questions? Because the same issue of, well, maybe we can bend on this social issue that seems culturally out of step now, might open the door to bending on some other cultural pressure points. And at that point, I started looking into a little bit of what is going on at Saddleback. And some smaller websites had sort of dug some stuff up. And, when you first see these sort of things, you may not know these websites very well. So you go, I'm going to look into this. Well, it turned out that a lot of what was being sort of dismissed was already out there. And it was, in fact, true that Saddleback has already started capitulating on the question of LGBTQ affirmation within their church. So they have a pastor who is at their Lake Forest campus, who is the care pastor. So he does counseling training, meaning he is training lay counselors within the church. And he has started a ministry at Saddleback. This was a couple of years ago. There's a number of support groups and some kind of small group surrounding this for parents of LGBTQ kids. And they partner with a group called Embracing the Journey. Well, when you get to know Embracing the Journey, what you find out is they're very, very cagey about what their beliefs are on homosexuality and transgenderism. They don't say it's a sin. They don't really say what they believe about it at all, but their resources and the resources that they recommend are full of outright affirming, hardcore affirming people, individuals, organizations. And so even further, the man who founded this Embracing the Journey is on the board of another LGBTQ ministry that is openly affirming. So as I started digging into it, I'm finding, okay, it turns out this Saddleback pastor and the ministry leaders that helped him found this at Saddleback have been going and appearing at conferences that are hardcore affirming. One of these ministry leaders at Saddleback has been pretty transparent in saying that her mission is to bring full affirmation into the church. And so these were the things that I kind of uncovered. So I went, okay, so this is already happening at Saddleback.
Wow. And this is just so disappointing, frankly. And it's also disappointing to see that the SBC is kind of putting out a straw man, essentially, so that they can look like they're affirming the truth and, we've disfellowshipped Saddleback, but they're avoiding the issue and really the merit of the question here, which is whether or not women can be a member of the ecclesia, which if anyone reads the plain meaning of scripture and the qualifications to be an elder or in the ecclesiastical order of the church, clearly it is the husband of one wife. And, we're still in reality here where the only people that can be husbands are men, and men is defined as a biological male. And, all of those things, we don't have to get into this whole, notion of trying to redefine human sexuality, especially within the church. But Megan, this is so interesting to me and brings up a whole host of other questions, because this isn't the first time that Rick Warren and Saddleback has been kind of at the center of trying to move Protestantism and American Christianity into more of a secularist framework and borrowing from secular ideology and permeating the church. There was a lot of question around Rick Warren's participation in the World Economic Forum, for example. There is also a really great documentary, I don't know if you're familiar with it, called Church of Tares, that's talking about all of these kind of embeds of a lot of different doctrinal issues that really do stem from not only Rick Warren himself, but Saddleback and some of these other high-profile, more celebrity-driven pastors. And so, where is this going then? And with the current leadership, unfortunately, that's not Tom Askell of the SBC, is there a push for the Christians who are aware of this to push back and to tell the SBC, you have to remain doctrinally sound?
Right. And so that was the title, Mr. Smith Goes to the Convention, kind of came from that. So there was a younger pastor of a small church in Virginia, a guy named Mike Law. And through a variety of friends, I'd heard about him. I'd heard about the amendment. I kind of said, hey, do you think maybe you could make an introduction so I can talk to him? And I started interviewing, and I just started hearing his story. So here he is, this young pastor of a small church. And he tried to use the process of the SBC to say, and by the way, I think he was very, and he's still, I'm kind of a cynical journalist, so I feel like I see, okay, he's getting the runaround, but he didn't feel that way as I was talking to him. Yes, he clearly, is not like a cynical journalist and is not willing to ascribe, let's say, duplicitous motives to some of the people at the top. And as I started talking to him, he started this amendment, and he went to the convention last year with the best of intentions and decided to, it's kind of complicated, but there's a couple of different ways you can do this, like anything sort of political. He put this amendment forward. The committee that it went to said, well, let's send it to the executive committee so that they can make sure that it's in the best shape. And they will consider the merits of it. And, it's just kind of a process to make sure that this fits well with our doctrinal stance, that it's procedurally sound. And so rather than pull it out of the committee and force an immediate vote, which he could have done, he said, okay, I'm going to trust this process, and I'm going to let this executive committee take hold of my amendment. And then it's going to run through this process, and we will all vote on it, hopefully, in 2023. And so a good chunk of my story is the bureaucratic runaround that this pastor got. And he, God bless him, he tried to do everything right. He tried to provide all the information. He published an open letter. He got, 2,000 SBC pastors signed it. He started to do some research and showed, okay, we've got almost 200 churches, just, on a very limited basis that it was not a full overview of all the churches in the SBC. Just a quick review came up with almost 200 churches that have women pastors to show this is a significant issue that needs to be addressed. Well, the executive committee said, we're not going to consider your open letter with 2,000 signatures from SBC pastors. They said, we're not going to consider this review that you've done, this research that you've done showing, okay, even on that limited basis, you turned up 170 churches with women pastors. We're not going to consider that either. They came to him and tried to get him to say, well, rather than pastor, how about we just say senior pastor or something lesser? And this is a man of integrity. And he would just kept, no, I think we need to be clear here about what the Bible says. And the Bible doesn't say senior pastor. It says it says biblically qualified men as pastors. And so that was kind of a big part of the process. And I focused on that so much because to me, it seemed emblematic of the same kind of bureaucratic runaround that we see in so many of our institutions. And it's what our country at large, what our faith at large is suffering from, is that we have a lot of rule makers who do not think they're accountable to anyone. And that was the big headline for me, is that, I read letters that some of these executive committee members, the chairman, sent him, and they were so dismissive and almost like a parent talking to a naughty child. And it just surprised me so much that this is how the people that we're sending our tithe money to, this is how they talk to the people they're supposed to be serving, was just kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, how dare you question our authority as if they have been, ordained and established as the petty tyrants of the SBC. I mean, as you were describing that the process they kept just saying, no, we won't hear, any of your claims. It reminded me, I wonder if they kicked him out based off of standing, which right. Seems like kind of just, the modern judiciary in arbitrating, disputes in front of the civil government that just say, sorry, we don't want to hear this because it's not politically convenient. It sounds like this is the same thing in the government of the church. And obviously we should be better. And so, so is there kind of in a similar way, a grassroots sort of movement or anything that does genuinely rise to the level of getting the attention of SBC leadership? And are there any people and names, even though it's sad that, this pastor shouldn't have been treated that way, but is there anyone else who maybe has more pull and authority taking on this issue since your article was published? And this was just yesterday. So, obviously this will continue, but I have faith in your articles because I know a lot of people are following you because they respect your journalism and they respect what you've uncovered. And so this does move a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And I want to be clear that this amendment is not dead at this point. The executive committee could still choose to bring it forward. But what doesn't bode well is that when the article came out, the president of the SBC started explaining why the amendment is a bad idea. And I went, wow, okay, so there's a fair and, impartial process. The president is now on social media sort of campaigning against this amendment. And they're doing that thing that's sort of the deep state thing, I would say, which is saying, we have something coming. It's just not out yet. So we can't do your thing, but we're going to come up with something. Trust us. Well, anyway, and so that is what I'm actually hoping that people will rally around, is this particular amendment that is still there. People are saying we want an opportunity to make our voices heard on this. So what we're not wanting is for Rick Warren to come back to the convention and be given a second opportunity to grandstand, which was something that happened last year. They kind of gave him a red carpet impromptu welcome to come and speak as a great celebrity. It kind of shocked everybody. Nothing like that has ever happened in the history that anyone I spoke to had ever heard of in the SBC, giving a celebrity pastor just grounds to come forward and sort of celebrate his church and how important they are to the Southern Baptists. So that surprised a lot of people. But what they want to see is just a very clear vote on principle. And that's not going to happen if you're hanging this around Rick Warren and Saddleback. That seems to me pretty obvious way to stack the deck there. This should be something that's very clean, and it's a discussion of doctrine.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this, Megan, I think is a great example of how politics, anywhere, whether it's in the civil government, the church government, or the family government, the three spheres of government God himself has ordained, how politics and celebrity and influence can come in and really obfuscate the real issue, which is clarity of truth. And in the church, we call that doctrine, sound theology. But anywhere, we all need to be concerned about truth and to actually discussing the real issues. I mean, this is no different than in the political realm and civil government when, we're talking about issues and obfuscating because of the politics or the celebrity or the personality, instead of coming to the root issue of what are our rights and how does our U.S. Constitution in the law protect and preserve those. In the same way, there's a governing document in the SBC. You're talking about this amendment to their Constitution in this convention. I mean, all of these are parallels. And what I hope that everyone who is listening takes away from this, beyond being very concerned about the SBC and the Christian truth and message that needs to continue in America, is how these institutions can get corrupted when we're more concerned about grandstanding and bending over backwards to appease these politicians, and I would include Rick Warren in this context in that sense, than we are about preserving truth. So we need to get back to the real issues, and I hope that the SBC will have a vote on the merits of women as part of the ecclesia, and hear from all sides and debate that and argue that if you must. It's very clear, but just like we do on the transgender issues of men can't be women. This really isn't up for debate, but apparently we're debating it. And to do the right thing, regardless of whether that means that, hey, Rick Warren, if you don't get on board with sound doctrine, with truth, then it's a good thing that we are disfellowshipping you. This is a good thing we're exercising discipline. This is a good thing that we're saying, no, you can't do that. And so I hope that the SBC will actually get on board with truth, just like I hope that Congress and the civil government in America also gets on board with truth. But just in terms of, beyond prayer, in terms of an action item for people who are listening to this, how can they help and be part of, maybe they haven't really heard that the SBC has this many churches and seminaries and all of these things, and they're now very concerned about the church in America. What's beyond reading your scholarship on this and talking to their own pastor, what are some potential ways that they can impact this debate?
Well, one of the things I would do, and this is just me because, I have no involvement with this website, but the pastor I covered set up a website called sbcamendment.org. So you could go to his website, you can watch, you can sign. I think you have to be an SBC pastor to sign the letter, but certainly you can contact the Southern Baptist Convention. You can let them know how concerned you are. If you have any connections to the Southern Baptist Convention, if you know people who have been through their seminaries, if you attend a Southern Baptist church, speak to your pastor. I mean, I think a really important thing, especially for those who do attend SBC churches, is to send messengers. I mean, part of what the strategy for this was, the disfellowshipping of Saddleback, the insiders told me, look, the reason they did this was to make the conservatives complacent. They will think, oh, the issue's been settled. Good job, guys. When what they've actually done is really angered the liberals. And the liberals are going to turn out. They are extremely organized. They already have their own letters going. They fund people to go to this convention. And so the messengers who are conservative, who want to see traditional doctrine, Orthodox doctrine followed here, I would say they're not as organized and they're complacent. So a really big thing is to make sure that your church is sending messengers to vote. So that's the big issue is if you want to be represented, you have to go to the convention and vote.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this parallel civil society that you have to have participation, and somehow the left is always more organized than the conservatives, and there are so many, many parallels. But the bottom line here is you have to be an engaged and active citizen and member of your community, whether that is your church community, that is your civil society community. or it's your family as well. I mean, so we as Christians and as concerned citizens need to be engaged and involved, and awareness of this is a really big step. So share Megan's article with your pastor, with your friends. Share this episode, this podcast where she breaks this down incredibly well, because we have to be informed so that we have knowledge and we're equipped on what is going on in our communities and our societies, so that then we can be more engaged and active citizens. So Megan, thanks so much for your work and for dropping by today. Always really appreciate your insights, and keep up the great work. I always, love to see what you're working on and what you write, because it's always informative and very in-depth and well-sourced. So thank you for your work.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Galatians 6:10 says, "Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." In Nigeria, there are 7 Christians being killed per day because of their faith in Jesus. Thousands are being driven from their homes on a regular basis. Some people like to talk about the problem, but there are those that do something to solve the problem. So I want to tell you about Equipping the Persecuted. This is a ministry that is actually helping persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Equipping the Persecuted is a boots-on-the-ground mission. They respond to terror attacks within 48 hours, bringing food, medicine, and relief materials. I can't believe all the amazing things Equipping the Persecuted is doing. They have an orphanage, support over 140 widows monthly, and they train and equip village security teams. I have genuinely never seen a mission like this. So I want to encourage all of you to support Equipping the Persecuted by donating $20 a month or more. Become a partner with Equipping the Persecuted to save lives. Visit equippingthepersecuted.org to donate today. Again, please visit equippingthepersecuted.org and become a partner in this amazing ministry. With inflation, the banking world collapse, and everything that Joe Biden is doing not to protect America, you need to make sure to secure your financial health, especially in retirement. And hey, if you're a millennial like me, that actually is sooner than you think. You need to start now, even if you are a millennial or a Gen Zer, to make sure that your financial health is actually healthy when we get to retirement. And Legacy Precious Metals has a revolutionary new online platform that allows you to invest in gold and silver online in real time. In a few easy steps, you can open an account online, select your metals of choice, and choose to have them stored in a vault or shipped right to your door. You'll have access to a dashboard where you can track your portfolio growth in real time anytime. You'll see transparent pricing on each coin and bar, and this puts you in complete control of your money. The platform is free to sign up for. Visit legacypminvestments.com and open your account and see this new investing platform for yourself. Gold hedges against inflation and against a volatile stock market. A truly diversified portfolio isn't just more stocks and bonds, but different asset classes. This brand new platform allows you to make investments in gold and silver, no matter how small or large, with just a few clicks. Visit legacypm.com to get started. You can download the free investor's guide, and you can also call Legacy PM Investments to talk to a portfolio expert to get expert answers to to customize your personal portfolio. So visit legacypminvestments.com to get started. Tell them that Jenna sent you.
Have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt so soft in the store, but then when you leave and you go to use it, it's not really that absorbent? It's basically a towel that is leaving you out to dry. That's why MyPillow has developed the MyPillow towels that actually work. I know, it's totally mind-blowing. Towels that actually dry you. Their 6-piece towel set includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. They come in a variety of colors. I have the sage green and the white. I love them. And right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $39.98 with promo code Jenna. That's JENNA. So go to mypillow.com right now and click on the radio listeners special. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty and have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So to receive this amazing offer on the 6-piece towel set of MyPillow towels, just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener special, and enter promo code Jenna, that's JENNA, or call 1-800-564 8475. That's mypillow.com, promo code Jenna.